good morning, and good morning. Okay, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. There's people that are my next door neighbors are having a lot of trees cut down, and that was probably the one reason that I said I did this thing on trees maybe about I think in 2021 during the pandemic, and I admit that I had some palpitations and maybe reconsidering moments of I have a tree out in front that to me is just I guess the birds put their little seedlings there, and it is a water oak, and for some reason it nestled right in front of my big window, which I love looking out of. So being that being said, I told the people that I wanted the little tree moved, and so they gave me a price. So they're going to do that today. So don't think that I'm like killing anything that's major in my life. I just know that I would feel a little bit safer and a little bit better off having that little tree removed. So that's what we're going to do about that little tree. But I wanted to talk this morning about trees and the significance of them in our lives. I don't know. I love trees. I don't want them so close to the house that they would fall on it. And that's what these people that were doing the assessment had already told me, that a tree close to your house is really not that good because we are in hurricane territory and this season is also upon us. So I'm going to get rid of that one tree. But I wanted to know, and so I looked up what uses and purposes are there for trees. And you would be surprised. There's a lot of things that trees do for us that we as people that just walk around and we see them and we pass maybe a big oak or we'll pass up some pines or whatever we see, maples or whatever, and then we go on about our business. But trees have significant um, what benefits for our lives. And it starts with, it says, and I got this off of the of course, a tree page online. If you all need to know the actual site, I'll give it to you. But if you punch in purposes of trees, it comes right up at the top. So it says trees have many purposes, including climate change. It says trees remove carbon dioxide from our atmosphere and release oxygen, which helps fight climate change. Did you know that? I did not know that. I thought it purely had more to do with, the elements in the air and what else was running around in the air patterns that were coming on us or upon us. But that's the first one. The other one talks about air quality. Trees remove air pollutants and greenhouse gases from the air. Did you know that? I didn't. I didn't. Now, this one gets me, this one right here, which talks about having stress reduction. Stress reduction. How many of us have, been in like in a position where you're not feeling well or you're recovering from sickness, surgeries, whatever. And it says that that's one of the reasons that a lot of different hospitals have trees that can be seen, because it says trees can reduce stress and anxiety, and people who see trees have a tendency to understand that they tend to recover from illnesses faster. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I did it. Good morning, Joan. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? Today our word is trees and what they do for us. What they do for us. Well, I do love trees. I have trees everywhere. But and I didn't realize until yesterday when I was talking to the gentleman that's cutting down the trees in our section, happened to tell me what kind of trees. I thought all the trees I had were pines. He said, "No, ma'am, you have water oaks. And in order to cut an oak tree in the state of Florida, you have to get a permit. But because the one out directly out in front has only been around 10 years, he said they can do those. But the ones that have the real stately, longevity, serious roots all over the property and everyone else's and into the road. Those you have to have a permit to even touch. So the other thing it says that trees do is they do what they call carbon sinks. Trees store carbon from carbon dioxide as cellulose in their trunks and release oxygen back out into the air. These are just little nuggets of information about what trees do for us. Also, it says trees are sound barriers. Now, for those who live near high, traffic areas, interstates, what I would call, throughways and all those kind of streets where there's a lot of traffic all day, all night, like being near 110 or 95 or 75 or whatever those roads are. It says that the trees take away by having those thick branches that make it a natural barrier to protect people from loud noises. Well, I can honestly tell you, I still hear loud noises, even though I have the wall up, not far from my house. I still hear loud noises. Lastly, it says, well, it has others, but I'm just going to end it up with this one. The last one things I have on here is that it's water cycle. Trees help regulate the amount of water that enters the ground and prevents soil erosion. These are just facts. There's about 5 or 6 more. And of course they give shade. Of course they do. They give shade. That's one of the big takeaways. Everybody, that probably was on everybody's number one list. But then I have a quick little poem, and I know this poem some of you have heard, and it's called Trees by Joyce Kilmer. And it says, I think I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Anybody remember that? Joan, you remember that poem? I remember that poem. I do. So let's get down to talking a little bit about trees. What is their purpose? What do we use them for? Do you have a favorite tree? That's what I want to know. Who has a favorite tree? My favorite tree is probably an oak. I think oak trees are beautiful, especially the ones that are old and stately. They've been there a long time and they show their presence. Even when you go up, there's a street here. I'll remember it. Yeah, there's a street here that when you drive up the street, and I think it's 12th Avenue, all you see are these oak trees that lean towards the middle of the street, giving it an arch effect. So as you're driving down, you just see the arch come and go all the way down. It's beautiful. It is beautiful. So trees, I like the view, and my tree is an oak tree. Oh, yours is too. Okay, Joan. So if we talk about trees, what are trees? And it says trees are a woody perennial plant. That I know it was a plant. No, I didn't think it was a plant. I thought it was just a tree. I always think it's plants as being small, but obviously they grow huge like that. Typically having a single stem or trunk growing to a considerable height and bearing lateral branches at some distance from the ground, like them pines. And it says that trees end up giving you sapling, and there could be, and these are type of trees, sapling, evergreen, shrubs and bushes are also trees. It says balsam firs, Douglas firs, Fraser firs. It says Scotch pine. That's what I have in the front. I have a Scotch pine. I had one taken down only because part of it was hanging. So I was worried about the other part falling. And one day I came home about maybe a year and a half ago, and my neighbor's oak tree, a portion of it had been hit and it was laying in the road, but the way it crossed the road, I couldn't get through. So finally, I had to drive over his property and around the edge of the tree that was laying on his property and come onto my land driving in order to get to my house. But trees can be, troublesome at times. But anyway, they also have pine and spruce, cedar. I also have a cedar tree. What kind of trees do you all have? And water oak, which is what I also have. So when I break the word down and I asked you this morning, have you ever been stuck with a lot of trees, too many for you to say is that that your house is properly managed, your property is properly managed? Sometimes we have to get rid of trees only because they have taken over, assumed the position that we are no longer living there. And sometimes we have to have the roots cut and they have to grind the stump. There's some things that they have to do in order to make it where you are still able to live on your property. So I say most time trees become tradition. And tradition is that they're going to sell with the house. Sometimes in your newer subdivisions, they put up trees, whereas other times where they took down trees in order to build the subdivision and then to put up new trees once the subdivision comes along. We got rid of all in the backyard. Okay. Hey, Debbie, how are you, my sweet friend? You have a lot of trees around your property. Well, I like trees. I'm not going to, deny it. I have a lot in the back, at the back of my fence and beyond. I do. And it's pretty. So it does give me that, that wild woodsy effect. But I'm not interested in them necessarily being, so close to my house that in the event of a storm that my house goes with it, goes down with the trees. Yes. Okay, I live in by the forest. Okay, so you live by the forest too. And we Debbie and I, by us being from New York, we saw trees, but we also saw a lot of sidewalk and a lot of brick buildings. So the trees were there, but they were strategically placed. They didn't overtake anything. And so when I got here, I love the trees, but I didn't want them up on the house. But it took me a while to get the money together to have some of them taken down. It's very expensive. It's probably a good business for those who are in the tree taking down business. I had mine removed after okay. All right. Yeah, I had some removed then. And I didn't realize that I gave away a lot of what people ended up making furniture out of because I had cedars. And some guy says, I just take it off. Well, I'm young. I don't think nothing about it. I said, certainly you can have it. And then somebody else coming, they said, girl, don't you understand that you just gave them money? I said, well, I did. They said they were going to make, something for their families. And there were people riding around just during that time, just asking people, could they take their wood away just because they had some projects that they could do to make that wood useful again. So I didn't find anything wrong with it. Good morning, Maurice. Good morning, Adelia. Good morning. Good morning. So I broke my first word down of trees is tradition. I feel it is tradition. And tradition means that a lot of times we don't realize it, but the transmission of customs or beliefs from generation to generation. Houses a lot of times come and go from generation to generation, where the house will come with so many trees and so many flower beds and whatever outside, and then whatever's inside becomes a part of the property. And so it's probably a tradition. And for some families, you can't cut a tree. Don't cut their trees. They don't want them cut. Tangible. That's a good word. How tangible is it? Yes. In fact, that's a great word. It says that when we're looking at tradition, it's passed on, it's handing down the beliefs that may come with some of the things that we have. And sometimes people will tell you, yeah, that tree was a tree where, everyone picnicked under, or they took shade under, or they had a swing that hung from it. a rope swing that hung from it. So they tell you what they're doing with the trees, and I love it. And sometimes they build gardens around them, or or they even have it. I've seen it where it's become where they have made graves for their animals right around a favorite tree, so that they always can go out and talk to Fido or whatever, Pierre, whatever the dog's name is, depending on their name, and they go visit. So time is good. Time is really good because over time, trees will grow to great distance in the air, and we end up, having to deal with them in one way or another, keep them, or eventually realize that we have to get rid of some. And it is, I have to admit, even saying that I'm getting rid of the one in the front of my house today, when I came home and from choir rehearsal last night and I saw it there, and I didn't have a tear, but I had, well, maybe I should reconsider. And then as soon as I walked in the house and looked through the large window, I said, no, I need to be able to see out. I need to be able to see out. So I changed, as I said, I changed my mind again. I'm right back where I was, which is to get rid of the tree. But anyway, the trees with tradition, it says the handing down of the beliefs, the customs, and all that may surround that tree. That means it's something that's practiced. It becomes habit. It's like, yeah, everybody meet around the tree at such and such a time. In fact, I had a girlfriend who said that was their code when something was, like if they had a fire or something in the house, everyone was to get out and meet at the far tree to the right, or whatever direction she said it was. That's what they used to do. So there's a reason for it. Trim. Because sometimes we can trim a tree and we can still live near it. That's true. My R, if you hear people yelling, it's not me. It's my neighbors, the tree service, they're out there. My R of trees is for receive, because I believe that if you've been in a position where you've bought a house, you've received whatever came with it. And many times these trees come, recycle, that's a good word. And resource, both of those great. Because, recycle would be that they're going to use the material from the tree, and a resource means that they found uses for what the tree could be there for. That's really good, both of them. Receive means to be given, presented with, or paid something for. And it says sometimes we can see this as something that we gained or we just got, and other times we consider it as something that we win, we inherited, but we care for. So that's how you look at it. Oh yes, roots. Come on now, deep. That's a part of the tree. Yes, that's a part of the tree. Its roots. Oh, goodness, I love it. We move on in our word of trees. My first E is for enchanted. I always remember when I was a kid and I would look at some of the books that were fairy tale type books. We didn't have many. I think we had 4 books in the house. One was the uh, Encyclopedia Britannica, and we only had letter G. And then we also had a fairy tale book. Well, in the fairy tale book, all of the stories would always have something that looked enchanted. And it always had maybe somebody looked like they might be a little fairy thing. And then it had trees, but it was, and it had almost like a glitter or something looking at it in a hazy kind of thing. That was enchanted to me. So entangled. Ooh, that's good. Enforced, evolved, erect. Oh my goodness, erect is really good too. Oh my goodness, all those are good. But I'm going to stay with my enchanted, because I felt that when I saw a tree when I was little, I was an imaginary kid. So, with an imagination, you done made up some stuff. I had, the prince came around the tree and we danced and we did this. Ain't none of that happened. Okay. The tree wasn't that involved in it. Okay. None of that. But enchanted says it's filled with delight, charm, fascinating, magical, enraptured, something that maybe have a little bewitchness to it. But it made me happy. Remember, that's what I said. It made me happy. Endurance. Ooh, that's good. Because the tree is going to be enduring. Oh my goodness. And some of the trees, I asked the guy that was here the other day that was talking about when we were talking about removing my tree out in front. One of the things he said he's gotten so good. He can look at a tree and tell how many years it's been there without ever knowing it before they ever cut into it. He can look at it. And I said, how do you do that? He said that that after a while, just from working with them so long, it's based on how well they look like they're planted in the ground, how wide their root is, how wide their base is, how they're situated in the ground. He can tell. And he says, oh, that one right there. He looked at the little baby tree, said, probably about 10 years. I said, oh, okay. And I looked back through some old pictures, and it was about 10 years. I remember the tree being like a bush. There it is, bush that grows into a tree, which is what all of the information this morning I'm reading says. So anyway, I said enchanted, which also says it could be witched, it could be magical, and of course, it makes you happy. That's what I said. Enormous. Oh my God, these are so great. Right. Eradicate, that means we get rid of. Edgy. Ooh, 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 ooh. Eat fruit. That's right. Come on now. Fruit trees. Fruit trees. I don't know if I ever told you a story about me. I have a lemon tree on the side of my house, a Myers lemon. Well, I didn't know they got big. So I went to work here in Florida, and I took everybody these huge, huge oranges. That's what I told them they were. Hey, I'm New York, whatever. And I'm not a farm girl. So I took the oranges in and I was handing them out, so excited and this and that. So someone cut one and they said, Dr. Winborn, why do you not know that these are lemons? They are not oranges. I said, I've never seen a lemon get that big. The lemon was that big. It was huge. These lemons were huge. And I said, I never seen it. So I just assumed it was an orange. I knew it wasn't a grapefruit. Well, I'm a city girl, not a country girl. So I do know now that that's lemons, Myers lemons. And I had an infestation of bees in my attic. And they had pollinated that tree to the point where all the fruit that came was huge. And so I was giving them away. So whoever said that basically when you eat fruit, that's right, Debbie. I was giving people a way to eat fruit. When my second E of trees is to enjoy the beauty of trees. Like I'm looking out my window and the trees, they're back far, but they're up so high I see them. They're beautiful. There's no, even though it's raining, they still look absolutely wonderful. So enjoy means to take delight in, to take pleasure in, to love. It says to be entertained. I don't know about trees entertaining me, but I do say that they give me sometimes my peace. Sometimes I can sit here and look up at the tree and I'll get another thought and I can go back to writing again. That's me. For other people, it may not be like that. It says also to be amazed, to delight in, rejoice in, relish, and savor. To me, my enjoyment is not only my peace, but it's also my view. So if I see something as pretty as a tree, like the poem said, that I'm going to be satisfied. I am. I just don't want it about the land on my house. That's my point. That's why sometimes we do have to, get rid of them. I never heard of replanting trees if they're big like these trees can get. But the little trees, I know that people have replanted them and they end up being fine. Invasion. Essentials. They are essential, I believe. And they do give us energy and they emerge. I love all of those words. Those are wonderful words. My last word, which I think is probably one of the most significant words that I added for today, is the fact that trees, they're sturdy. They're like us. They're like us. We don't, generally speaking, we do not go down if we have some of the same, what I would say, niceties, beauty, stability as a tree. We're good, you know. I mean, you think about it, a tree stands tall. We try to stand as tall as we are, even if we're only 5 feet, even if we're 4'11", we still can't stand tall as long as we can still stand up. The fact that we have our limbs, and that's like the arms of the trees, all of the different branches, I love that. The fact that we take in air, they take in air, and then they reuse the oxygen, which is what we talked about. They reuse the oxygen and put it back out there to us. That's what they do. The sap. I don't like that sap on my car though, Debbie, from them pines. I'm always trying to clean it, and sometimes I can just be riding through. In fact, if I wash my car within 24 hours, it's going to be some sap because of the heat, or it's going to be some bird let down. I don't know why on my car. From the trees, they're hanging. In fact, I went out there and it's raining, and I was looking up at the trees, and there were a whole bunch of birds because it's raining, so they had taken a break. They were on the telephone wires, and there were a whole bunch of them in the trees that I could see. It is what it is. So I said sturdy, but the sap is good. The SERP, yes, all of that. The strong, oh my goodness, the steady, the symbolic. Oh, so good. Trees are symbolic to me. The fact that trees remind me of people, which is why I said that. It reminds me of us. It says because it's someone or something, someone, you or I, others, we're the ones or something, which would be the tree, that is sturdy, looks strong, and is unlikely to be easily injured or damaged. Now, we're not real fragile, thank goodness that we were made in such a way that we were able to withstand some stuff. We can carry heavy stuff. We can run. We can stand tall. We can stand still. We can, all the things. Now, trees can't run. No, they can't run. But they can stand tall, and they're sturdy, and they're in the ground. And, thank goodness we're not bolted like that, because that gives us our ability to move, is the fact that we're not bolted to the ground. But thank goodness that there's enough gravity in the earth that we stay on ground, that we don't just lift off. Like I was looking at the space stuff this morning, and they were talking about the two last astronauts that went up, that they went up for 8 days and they will be up there for 8 months. I don't know how they doing it, but me here, I'd already panicked. 1 hour after I was supposed to be gone, I'm already on, okay, y'all better get up here soon. I don't know. That's me, but I probably would have never gone up. In fact, I know I wouldn't have gone up. Not me. But anyway, sturdy is something that is strong and looks strong and is unlikely to be easier injured or damaged. That's us. Sometimes we need our stoutness in order to stay, stand wherever we want to stand, do whatever we want to do. It says that when something is sturdy, it's also hardy, it's substantial. I'll pass out on the way up. Me too. I would pass out on the way up too, Debbie. I know I wouldn't be in there. It says sturdy is also when something is firm, it's fixed, and strength is good. Oh my goodness, that's great too, Ardelia. We think about trees. When we think of trees have been around for years and years and years, probably centuries in the whole tree world. Centuries, 100 years old, 200, 500 years old, And the thing about it is that we don't water trees. We don't feed trees. They get all that from the earth and the sun and and the air. So you just think about that. What if that were us? We still have to rely on other things to remain strong, to remain, durable, to remain capable. There's still things that we have to add to ourselves. If we stopped eating, trust me, we cannot remain sturdy. We will not remain strong. We will not remain, what I would say, in a position to do anything. The less that we are doing, trees were made to be independent of needing what people need, but yet and still, we still have the same characteristics of needing to be sturdy in our presence and having strength to do what we need to do. So thank you for that. Steadfast. Ooh, there's a song that calls about I want to be steadfast and unmovable, always abiding. That's what the song says. Sturdy also says stout, hardy, substantial, firm. How many of us can be firm, rugged, and stable? But, I don't know if all of us, we could never handle the elements of what a tree goes through. I even think about yesterday I passed by some homeless people, and in the state of Florida, and in our county particularly, they're starting to crack down on where homeless people can stay. And I watched a young man, and he looked to be maybe in his 20s, coming out of the woods off of the interstate, and he literally walked over like 8 lanes of traffic, okay, limping, made it over to the other side. And my thought was, wow, he is in all of those woods. And all I kept thinking of is ticks and mosquitoes and everything that's out there, and maybe even snakes. I don't know. But all I had for him was a quick prayer. Lord, help. I don't know what it is that pushed many of the people that live in the woods under trees, but it always just strikes me as a quick conversation in my mind when I pass them. And yes, I probably have been wrong by giving them money and food, but sometimes I will, because all I keep saying is that could be me. It could be me sleeping out in the air under trees. I'm so fortunate. I think all of us are that aren't in that position. But anyway, trees, that's our subject for today. I believe that trees have a purpose. Like many of the ones that I read earlier, they have a purpose for our lives. So we can't cut down all of them. But sometimes in order for us to be safe, we have to cut them down enough for us to be able to see and to hear and realize that we have to also protect ourselves in the process of whatever else is going on. Someone told me about someone, buy their car, even though there weren't many people by it. But someone tried to break into their car recently. And I said, what do you think they were? And they said they came out from near the trees. And I said, no, see, I'm always trying to be, if there's a lot of space, I try to make it where I have some walk, but I don't want to be at the end of the walk where I'm the last one, which makes anything close to the areas where people could be that my vehicle or myself become victims. I'm not interested. But listen, you guys have a wonderful weekend. It is Friday. What are your plans? Hoping that you got something good going on. And when you pass a tree today, tell the tree thank you. Tell God thank you for the trees, because they do have a purpose. And every once in a while, when you have to pull one down, don't feel bad, because sometimes that's how we continue to live better and be in a position of being more safe. But have a wonderful, wonderful week. Going to junk in the trunk. Okay. You're so funny. Listen, have a great weekend. Hit the share button and let it be shared. And tell everybody words are important. In order for you to have a good conversation with others, you need some words. You can't just keep giving them the same 1, 2, 3 words, and they'll be looking at you like saying, I'm done talking to them, because that's all they can say. So get you some words up under your hat. Listen, I'm going to see you on Monday. In fact, I may not come in on Monday because I just thought a girlfriend of mine passed away. I think I told you about it. So I'm trying to go and be supportive to her family, and her funeral is Monday. So we're supposed to sing our choir, and I'm supposed to be one of the speakers for the family. So anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. But if I'm not coming on, I'll put a note out there to let you know where my SOS is, okay? Love you guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Michael Darrell, good morning. You have to come back and listen. It was good. I think so. All right. Bye-bye, guys.